All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for a special edition of the Friday feature. I appreciate everybody being here, joining us for the next 20 minutes or so. Going to be quick hitting, going to get you updated on a new product from Juke Audio. Like I said, brand new. It's called the AudioMate, as you can see here on the screen. It's a simple yet powerful accessory designed to expand what you can currently already do with the Juke whole home audio system. And we are excited to be joined by Colton Forth, who is with Juke, obviously, to give us everything you know about the new AudioMate. Colton, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having us, Mark. Very excited to be giving you guys a little bit of a briefing on our new AudioMate product.
Yeah, we'll run through the info we have here on the slide deck. We're actually going to do a live demo for you as well. But essentially what this is just it's a network audio bridge of some sort, right?
Yeah, it's a versatile transmitter and receiver that is a companion piece for any of our Juke audio amplifiers that really serves as an all-in-one solution for tying in audio sources of really any kind in a house or commercial space into the Juke audio ecosystem. And that's what I'm going to cover here today.
Awesome.
So with that, let's get into it. As I said, this product here is a companion piece for all of our Juke audio amplifiers. And today we're here to talk about the AudioMate, but just as a recap for those who maybe are not necessarily familiar, our traditional products at Juke Audio have been multi-channel amplifiers that are network enabled with app control and wireless streaming, essentially serving as an all-in-one distributed audio solution for built-in whole home audio or some commercial applications as well. When it comes to streaming music from your phone, your Spotify, your Apple Music, so forth, all to the amp, that's something we offer very seamlessly. But when it comes to incorporating other audio devices into the Juke audio ecosystem, that is where this AudioMate piece comes into play, and it serves as the perfect companion for our amps, hence the name AudioMate. So what is it exactly, and what are the connections it offers? It has both an RCA in and out, as well as an HDMI in and out, and it connects to the network via Ethernet or Wi-Fi. And once it's on that network, anything that's connected to it, either as an in or an out, is communicated in combination with the Juke Audio amplifier and is accessible with inside of the Juke Audio app. So some common devices that you see on the screen here, a television, a record player, a subwoofer. Rather than having the installer have to run cabling from all of those devices back to the central AV rack where the Juke Audio amp lives, this solution allows you to put the AudioMate directly next to those devices and tie them into the Juke ecosystem wirelessly, greatly reducing install complexity and really opening up the level of flexibility and versatility of what you can bring to the table when it comes to using a Juke audio system. So there's a lot of different functions for this, but today I'm going to cover some of the main key ones that you'll typically be using this product for. So the first one is Enjoy TV audio. It has an HDMI ARC input on it, and with that, you can connect off the output of your television into this device, mount it conveniently behind the back of the TV. Comes with little Velcro strips if you choose to use those. It's very small in its form factor, so it can fit into a wall cavity or directly behind the back of the television. And when it receives that audio from the television, it'll then send that audio over the network to the Juke wirelessly. And from within our app, you'll then see that television as a source, and you can have it play out of whatever rooms you want. So think about scenarios like an outdoor television, maybe, where a soundbar is not feasible, or even just bedroom TVs, where it's not a surround sound setup, but the customer would still love the opportunity to have the ability to have their television audio playing through the speakers in that room, in addition to just music. This piece allows you to do that, again, without needing to actually run a cable from the television all the way back to the Juke amplifier and connect it in. And then secondly, it has an HDMI ARC output on it. The use case for that might be you could take any third-party soundbar. It doesn't have to be any one specific brand, as long as it has an HDMI input. If the client has a budget for $1,000 soundbar, great. If they don't, as long as it has an HDMI input in it, you can make that device essentially smart, if you will, and part of the Juke ecosystem by having this AudioMate sit in the middle of the TV and the soundbar. So the TV would go HDMI out into the AudioMate. The AudioMate would then go HDMI out from it into the soundbar, doing a pass-through. The end result of that is you can have the soundbar playing in sync with the speakers in that room that are actually connected to the Juke amp. And what you're ultimately creating is a very, very, extensive ecosystem of different sound endpoints that are playing in harmony all in one room. So again, in summary, if you don't want a soundbar, this thing can extract the television audio and send it to your desired areas on the Juke amp, how many ever you want by itself. Or if you do want to tie in a soundbar, it allows you to do that as well via its HDMI pass-through and allowing you to tie in really any soundbar you want. So that'll probably be the number one use case. And there's certainly other applications for the HDMI for other digital audio sources, but most notably, it'll be used for television. Secondly, it has RCA in and out. So an example that you see on the screen here would be you're connecting out from a turntable into the RCA in on this AudioMate. And again, rather than having to have cabling all the way from your turntable or record player back to the Juke audio amp, you can place this AudioMate at a location convenient for where that record player is supposed to be. So on a desk in an office, for example, that'll allow you to do that. And again, from within the Juke audio app, no different than what I just described as the TV, you would see this RCA input from the AudioMate as a source, and you could play it out to any of the connected speaker zones on the Juke. So regardless of if your analog audio source has wireless streaming capabilities or not, you can connect it into this AudioMate device and give it those functionalities. So if you have old school audio gear and that sort of thing, you can bring them to the modern age with streaming that wirelessly back to the Juke amp with this unique piece. Then lastly, the ability to use the RCA output on the AudioMate. So typically, in a Juke system at least, or distributed audio system in general, every speaker is home run back to a central spot and connected to the amplifier like ours, and it's powering those speakers. But in examples where maybe the walls have already gone up, or say you're adding in an ADU, or you just want additional sound coverage, this allows you to add in additional sound coverage after the fact that can then be grouped together with the speakers that have actually been wired to the centralized amplifier. So whether that be you connecting into powered speakers like you see here, or even a third-party power amp that's powering, say, landscape speakers, or a powered subwoofer that you want to group together with speakers that are in a certain room. Simply come off the RCA out from this device, connect it into that third-party audio source, and then essentially you will have an additional zone that'll appear inside of the Juke app alongside of all of your connected speaker zones, giving you the ability to group them together, and as it says there, add additional sound coverage via these devices.
So you can use it with the subwoofer then, right? Because I thought that was one of the things that the current models don't have. Don't they not have a sub out?
They have a line out. There isn't currently any crossover that's implemented into that, so it would have to come from the sub itself. But obviously that is fairly common, and we do intend via firmware update in the very near future to be releasing an ability to adjust that from within inside of the app for the line out, so you can make those adjustments for sub specifically.
Cool, very good.
And just a little close-up shot on the product here. So as I mentioned, it's very small in its form factor intentionally. It's intended to be fit anywhere and offers all these different connection points that I just described here. So it can connect to the network via Wi-Fi, but there also obviously is an Ethernet port, which if at all possible to hardwire it, we'd love to see that happen, especially in terms of the example we provided for TV audio. If you happen to be hardwiring your television, if you could do potentially a two-port switch or other network solutions similar to that to allow it to connect hardwire into the television and into the AudioMate, that would obviously be fantastic. But we have done ample testing with this on Wi-Fi as well and performed very, very well, barring that you do have an access point within a reasonable shot of distance. Now, in terms of the connections on it, you see the RCA in and out there. You see the HDMI ARC/eARC in and out there. Just laid out all the different functions for what those things maybe could provide. But there's a wide array of devices beyond what I just described there that you could actually connect in. So the simple concept here, if you were to take anything away, a small versatile adapter that can add in additional audio sources or outputs to the Juke audio ecosystem via low latency wireless transmission. With that, I'm now going to go and share my screen from my phone and actually give you guys a little bit of understanding of what this maybe looks like from when you're in a user's shoes. So we go into the Juke Audio application and give you guys a little bit of a rundown.
Great.
Look at my Juke Audio app. Here's where you'll see the home screen of the device. And here's where you'll see the groups tab of the Juke app. So here's where, let's say you had the example where you connected HDMI out from your television into the AudioMate. This would appear as an input within inside of the Juke app that you can then play out to whatever rooms you want. So let's say it was a TV over top of the fireplace. You'd obviously want to have the television audio playing in that room, right? So you have the fireplace on. But then let's say you're entertaining and now you want to have that television audio playing in an additional zone. Simply toggle the deck zone to on like you see there. Now you're playing the television audio in two different zones at once. And the intention is that you leave this thing on power pretty much perpetually connected to the television. And anytime you turn on the TV, it auto detects it and it'll play out to the zones you have pre-configured here. So you're never really going to have to go back to the Juke app at all unless you're trying to add or remove zones that the television is playing out to, which will be a relatively seldom occurrence. And since it go ahead.
Set it and forget it. Right.
Yes, set it and forget it. And since it's HDMI ARC, you can control the volume from your TV remote as well, which is a big benefit over optical. So therefore, there's another function that the user can do directly with their television remote, and they're not having to come back to the Juke app to adjust volume at all. Now, if I go back to the home screen of the app, what you see here are all of the zones that are associated with my Juke amplifier. I'm using the Juke 8, so I have 8 zones here. And also note, we now have the custom zone images that you can upload for any one of the rooms. What we see here at the bottom is the RCA out and the HDMI out for the AudioMate, which, as you see, are appearing alongside all the speaker zones for the Juke. So in my example here, I've coined the RCA out on the AudioMate subwoofer, and I've coined the HDMI out on the AudioMate soundbar. Now, when I go to say, any, groups tab in my, whether it be as a streaming source hosted by the Juke amp, like one of our built-in streaming sources, or AirPlay or Spotify, I'll be able to play out to those connected outputs and group them together with any one of my Juke zones. Or even here in the example of the television audio that's connected into the AudioMate, all I would do here is come here and play it out. So now I have the AudioMate doing pass-through to its HDMI out, which in this case is the soundbar. And if that soundbar lived in the same room that the fireplace lived in, now those ceiling speakers in the fireplace room would be playing alongside the soundbar, in perfect sync. So it's a very, very versatile piece for that regard, doing, inputs and outputs simultaneously. If I wanted to say, at a later date, say, hey, I don't want to use this for television audio anymore. I want to change my audio source from HDMI to RCA because I'm connecting in a turntable or a computer or anything like that. Simply come here, RCA, save. Now when I come to my groups tab on my app, now I have an RCA source like you see here, and it can be played out to any of those connected zones exactly like I described before. And then lastly, let's just say you're not using any of the outputs on the AudioMate, you're simply using the inputs. You can just simply hit show zone for users, turn it off, come here, show zone for users, turn it off. And then basically when I come back to my home screen of my app, now I just have the Juke zones. and I'm only utilizing it for the input side of the AudioMate, which is now just being able to be played out to any of the connected Juke zones. So an example where that maybe comes into play is if you just have it connected into the TV and you're not using either the RCA or the HDMI output.
Right.
And that's really all there is to it. Very simple basic control that really allows you to connect what you want, where you want, seamlessly.
So yeah, if you're not using those, you want to make sure that you set those to off, right? Or
Yeah.
it would automatically identify it, right?
Yeah, and it was already set up when we went into that, so we kind of skipped over the onboarding, but this is all outlaid when you're going through that process. Hey, are we setting up only inputs? Are we only setting up outputs? So it'll more or less be configured how you want when you get to the home screen of the app.
You can change it, like you said, if down the road if you wanted to. For removing devices. No, really good. Yeah, so we are stocking these at all of our locations now. I'm getting ahead of myself because I think it's just now shipping, right? We will be.
Yes, exactly. So it'll start shipping next week.
Okay.
And we are, able and willing to get it to any of your guys' locations as soon as you guys need.
Perfect. I think a lot of this was already covered. I want to go through a couple of the top questions we have on it. You said most common devices you'll use with this. I think I saw turntable, powered speakers, right? Soundbar. Is that right?
Yeah. So I think let's cover what's the most common inputs and let's cover what's the most common outputs. From an input perspective, I think TV audio is going to be far and away the number one audio source that you connect in. But you could also think about other digital audio sources. Maybe a projector, for example, would be an example of something you could connect in. And then on the RCA side, it could be a turntable, a record player, a DJ deck, you name it. And then another function that we've kind of been using recently is if you connect RCA to auxiliary, you can connect it into your computer, even if you're using a PC or something like that, and you just want to have that as your dedicated audio source and play music off of that or whatever audio off your computer. That's another example of something you could connect in. And then on the output side, I'd say the HDMI out is almost entirely going to be used for pass through to a soundbar, although there could be a few other things. And then the RCA out, you're going to almost always see powered subwoofer, powered speakers, or third-party power amplifier, maybe to do a landscape setup or something like that.
Like you said, very versatile. You also said it's Ethernet or can also be connected via Wi-Fi, although obviously in all cases Ethernet is preferred, but that is you can do it either way, correct?
Yep, that's correct. And like I alluded to, if you are to be doing it wirelessly, just pulling an access point within 20 feet or something like that would have pretty significant impact on performance. But we are expecting this thing to be on Wi-Fi the majority of the times. As one of the key selling points on it is place this next to your devices where you want them to be. You don't have to get forced into placing the devices in a situation where you have to home run it, all the wiring, or have to place it in a spot where you have to get it hardwired.
And the last one, I think we don't have to cover how many AudioMates can be connected at one location.
Yeah, so we've been stress testing up to 4 devices with great results. No real reason to believe we couldn't do more than that, but that's what we've been testing up to in this point, and feel as though that'll cover, got to be 99% of use cases for this. You want to go put it behind the master bedroom TV, the outdoor TV, and maybe a guest room TV. You're still owning 3 of those devices, and you're really adding TV coverage to all your different rooms. So, yeah.
So at least 4 has been tested. That's good to know.
Yes.
So yeah, again, very excited about this. Shipping next week. Reach out to your rep. We will have it on your vendor page on 21stcenturydisc.com. Looking to take pre-orders right now. So if you're interested, like I say, give the rep another great addition to the Juke lineup. Really excited about this. So I really appreciate you joining us here today, Colton.
Thank you so much, Mark. I really look forward to getting this out in the world to you guys and seeing the great results. Feeling strong about this.
All right. We'll talk soon.